All right, so here we are at the edge node. Now what we're going to do is we are going to connect to the MySQL database using the JDBC driver, the passwords and user IDs that we have, and we are going to use the retail_db database, the database that we have looked at. So these are the some of the tables that are there in the retail_db. We are going to use some of these tables and in our examples, and we are going to import these tables. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So for importing the Sqoop command, I write Sqoop import. So this will signify that it is an import. Then I have to specify the connect identifiers. Now I have to connect to the MySQL database. So I'm using the JDBC connector here. We are on localhost and the port is 3306. Here we have to specify the database that we want to connect to in MySQL. So here it is retail_db, and then we have the username, which is root. Then we specify the password, which is Cloudera. We specify the number of mappers. Here let's start with 1, and then the table. What is the table that we want to import? So we want to import the customers table, so we specify customers. Then we specify where we want to import this table. So this is the directory in the Hadoop system. So we want to import this data into this particular directory. So this is a data import, let's say example. So when I press enter, it will execute this Sqoop command. So it will query the database, it will query the table. So if you see the log here, so it is doing select star from the customers table. So it is going to run this query on the MySQL database on the table, and the data it will fetch and it will store in the specified Hadoop directory. So let's wait for this query to get complete and then we'll verify this data. Alright, the command is executed now. Now let's look a closer look at the log. So now when you trigger a command, behind the scene a map reduce job will run. So map reduce will run this and then you will get the result. Now as we know that map reduce has two phases, one is a map phase, the one is the reduce phase. So if you see here, right, we just have one phase. Map is going all the way from 0 to 100%. There's no reduce job that is running. This is because there is basically we have one mapper, there's only one thread, it hits the database, it collects the information. There is no movement of data from one node to the other node because there's only one sequence that goes and hits the database and collects the information. We're not doing any aggregation or anything, so the data movement is not there, hence there's no concept of reduce phase here. The other thing that I wanted to talk is when you run a Sqoop command, behind the scene there will be a .java file that gets generated, and that Java file will have all the details that is required for the Sqoop to connect to the database. So if I do an lsltr, so this is again in the same place where you are firing this command, right? You can see a .java file getting created. So this Java file will be with the same table name that we are trying to import. So we are trying to import the customer table, so customers.java. So if you do a cat on this, you will see the set of instructions, right? So if you know Java, then you'll understand some of the details. So some of the import commands. So basically these are the column names of the customers table. So all those fields and some other validations and other stuff that it does, right? Anyway, so this is the instruction that it takes. So now let's go back and check this data where it is stored, right? So our target directory is this one. So what I'm going to do is I am going to do an hdfs command to check the data, right? So we'll say hdfs dfs -ls, and this is the directory, and then we will see if there is any file that gets created, right? So we have two files here. So this is a 0-byte file. This basically as you can see, it says _success. This means that the command that is executed is successful. So that's just kind of an indication or you can call as an acknowledgement. This is a file that got created, part yum 00000. So this is a file that got created and the data will be available in this file. So what we'll do is let's go ahead and query the data or just cat the data in this. All right, so this is the data that we have in the file. So all the way we have 124,035, 12435 Laura hot, and that's the final record. So let's just verify it. So I'm going to do a select query on the customers table just to verify that the data that we received all the data, or is it some part of the data is missing, right? Just a double check. So we have this many records as the same record that we have. If you verify this, this is the last record that we have here. So all the data is basically available here. So all the data is basically available here. So there's no loss of data. So we have successfully imported the table data from MySQL into the HDFS. Now, if you see here, right, all your columns are separated by a comma delimiter. So that is the normal default delimiter that it comes up with. So when you import the data, by default, it is stored in the comma delimited format. We can change this delimiter as well, that we will see at some other video. But right now what we'll do is we're going to execute this command one more time. Okay, so this is a command that we have executed. So we will execute it one more time. Now, why we are trying to execute one more time? If you see here the target directory, so this is the target directory. So the data is already present in this target directory. So once you execute this, what is going to happen? Is it going to overwrite the data, or is it going to fail, or is it going to just append the data? So we just wanted to figure that out, right? Right, so this is already done, and here is the error message. So there's an error, it says file already exists, right? So it is not able to overwrite or append because we haven't mentioned anything there. So what we will do is we will append the data. If the file is already present, then we will append this data. So here one small change we have to do, we have to add another option, and we simply say append. That's it. So when you say it, when you add this option, it is going to append the data to a directory if it is already present. So these are small changes that we have to do to the original Sqoop command that we have seen in the template. So this is that easy. So let's go ahead. So let's wait for this to get executed, and then we will verify this data again. All right, this command is also executed. Now what we'll do is let's go ahead and check this directory. Now you should have two files here. Earlier we had just one file. So now because we have appended this data, you should see two files here. Right, you can see it here. This is a new file that got added, and you can see the version, it's 00001, and you can also see the timing difference here, right? So this is how you are going to append this data. Now what if we want to overwrite this data? So for that, what we have to do is first let's remove this. This is not append, we don't want to append this. Now what we will do is we want to delete the data which is present and then insert the new data. So that's your override. So for that, we give the option delete target directory, dir. This should be target, right? So this is going, what it is going to do is it is going to delete that files which are present. Like we have two files, it is going to first delete that file and then import the data from the SQL MySQL, and it is going to create a new file. That is, it is going to overwrite the existing data. So that is what it is going to do. So let's wait for this command to get executed, and we will verify this data one more time. Okay, so the job is now complete. So let's go ahead and check this directory one more time. Now this time, instead of two, we should have only one file, because we have overwritten the existing directory or existing files. As you can see, we have just one file, and it is the initial version with all zeros, right? So this is how we do a simple import command. So in the next few video tutorials, we will see different options, different ways of importing, and then finally we'll also see export. I hope this was clear, and I'll see you guys in my next class.